None of this matters. None of this shit matters. My bills don't matter. My worries don't matter. How I feel about being in a Zoom meeting at work doesn't matter. Giving a presentation doesn't matter. My stupid ass job doesn't matter. None of this shit matters because ultimately there is no new problem that you face. It may be new to you, but it's not new to history. So if somebody has faced that problem, that means there's most likely a solution. All we have to do is either go within ourselves, and if we can't find it within ourselves, find somebody who has gone through that and use their experience, because then we cut down the suffering in half the time.
Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Travis. I'm here with my co-host Edmund. We are Warrior's Way Home, where we are here to inspire men to put the warrior mindset back into manhood and infuse masculinity back into modern day. So we are digging into the Dokkodo by Miyamoto Musashi.
Yes.
Very, very important and powerful book. This is our last few tenets of the Dokkodo. Super excited about these. We've dug into those. So if you haven't seen the past episodes, man, definitely go back and check out the podcast. The past episodes we posted up. So before we dig into this, it'll make all of this make much more sense. The wrap up of this is pretty powerful, man. It's like we've had some high highs and some moments that really made me think and scratch my head and be like, oh damn. For sure. Some of them hit close home, guys. Some of them hit close home. So definitely go check those out. But today we're digging into 19, 20, and 21, the last one. So what are we digging into, Edmund, today?
So these are the last three tenets of the Dokkodo. I actually find these last three to be super important and super. This is kind of what it all leads down to for a lot of different areas and maybe for a lot of different people. So for principle number 19, this one is respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. So what this talks about, or what this quote does, it underscores the importance of self-reliance and personal responsibility. It encourages individuals to show respect and reverence towards spiritual figures like Buddha and the gods, while emphasizing that relying solely on divine intervention or assistance is not sufficient. So what this comes down to is kind of what we've been talking about, what manhood kind of is overall, a little bit, but I want to really break this down. So when they say respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help, what they're saying is that a lot of people tend to rely on faith when it comes to their issues. That is not a bad thing to do. It's okay to pray. It's okay to have faith. It's okay to have your respective rituals when it comes to your spirituality. But what people get caught up in is that they will ask for a certain thing of that higher power, of that source energy, but they don't do anything to actually move towards that on their end. It was put to me perfectly once by a mentor of mine who said that, like, you ever see, I can't remember the name of the actual painting, but it's like Adam and God like reaching out to each other.
Oh the fingers.
And it's like super close to touching, but they don't actually touch. So when it comes to like what you ask from a higher power, you want to do the reaching out. The prayer itself is not the reaching. The reaching is in your actions. You pray that something comes out to a certain a certain outcome, and you want a certain situation. You ask God for it, but what are you doing to meet Him halfway? One of our brothers in the circle, I cannot remember who said it, and forgive me, but he said, "Don't you realize how much energy it takes for God to do something for you? Like the least you could do is meet Him halfway." So when you are sending up prayers, like the Bible says, like faith without works is dead. The work is on you.
Stole my quote.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But it just shows that like we're on the same wavelength. Yeah. But the reason why I really like this is because for somebody who, like we talked about on the podcast before, where like I'm coming from different religious backgrounds. My family was one way, my school was one way, and my household was a different way. So I'm coming from like all these different, a mix of different perspectives on what that higher power is. And what I learned is most people actually pray the same. Okay. They ask for something, they feel a little better about it, and then they just kind of go back to the "oh, woe is me" kind of mindset. They're not doing anything to actively move in what that prayer is. Gotcha. So what your job is to, yes, have faith, but you should be doing everything in your power to also meet that goal.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Definitely makes sense. I took it a little bit direction, like I said, you did steal my quote though.
Sorry.
So I mean, you pay me for that one.
From the Bible?
It's hard to find that quote. It wasn't hard to find that quote. But life isn't going to do you any favors just because you're a kind person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it was talking about the higher power and everything like that. And a lot of times you can even just put life in that space. Life isn't going to do you any favors just because you're a quote unquote good person and you try to do good things. It's like good people have bad things happen to them as well. You know, it's like there are plenty of good people in this world who have accidents, who have issues with relationships. Plenty of good people go bankrupt. It's like just because you're a good person does not mean that good things are just going to happen to you all the time. That life isn't good. That, you know, life isn't going to come knocking for you at times. What was it? The anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So the biggest thing is keeping it pushing. Is like, don't just expect life to just carry you through just because you try and live your life in a semi good way. It's like, oh, I gave change to that homeless guy, so so I'm good. So when I go apply for those jobs, I'm just gonna get them.
Right.
But you don't do any follow up.
Right.
You give a shitty resume. So you didn't set yourself up for success. But because you gave this guy some change, you think the life is just going to go your way just because. It's like, that's not how things work. You still should put your best foot forward when you're doing things. Just like in self-defense, it's like you train self-defense over and over and over again. We drill over and over and over again, so that when a situation does happen, you can just do what your body just moves and just reacts in that way that you drilled over and over and over again. You don't have to think about it.
You got faith that technique was going to work because you've done it so many times.
Exactly. So that's when it comes to that faith without works. That's the key. Right. You have to put in the work for it to work. Yeah. It's like, and here's the thing. It's like, if you have that beginner's luck and stuff just is going your way when you start something new or anything like that, that's great. If you stack your work on top of that, going and giving your best to this thing, it's like, how much more results would you get versus just sitting back and hoping that it all works out for you? Hey guys, quick interruption to the episode. Let me tell you about the 8 Inner Gates, our personal growth and self-mastery course that's been showing men just like you how to get unstuck and take their life, relationships, career, or even business to the next level. The same principles that have helped us to find purpose, overcome depression, command respect, dominate in our careers, and become honorable men, we're now sharing with our brothers. So if you want more of this life, you know you're capable of achieving more of this life, and you're tired of just drifting through it, click down in the description of the episode or in the pinned comment and gain access to the first 2 lessons in the course, completely free on us. Click now and begin unlocking the gates blocking your success.
What's that that old quote where it's like, luck is where opportunity meets preparation. Oh, yeah. So like, by you preparing to do a thing, you are moving in the space of, this is what I want, this is what I want for myself, this is what I want to achieve. And then the opportunity for that thing happens because you've done all this preparation, which actually leads perfectly into another one of our tenets, but I'll save that for next. So the 20th principle of the Dokkodo is, you may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. And this is significant. The significance of honor and personal integrity is where I kind of took this. So this underscores the idea that one's sense of honor and moral principles should remain steadfast even in the face of extreme circumstances or personal sacrifice. It raises questions about the role of honor in shaping one's actions and decisions, and whether preserving one's honor should always be a non-negotiable priority. So really what this talks about is standing on your principles. Do you have the fortitude to say, this is what I will and will not do, and I'm going to honor this. This is my new way of living. Yeah. And really, when you break all these principles down, it's giving you a new way to live. And with this being one of the last tenets, it's saying that whatever you are taking from this, that you're trying to move forward in and that you're trying to advance in, don't let that foundation be shaken, because if you can stand on your principles at the cost of maybe getting the kind of bag that you want, maybe
Gucci.
huh?
Gucci.
You almost got me. I was like, yeah, Gucci. Like, let's say there's a certain job that you want, but they're not going to give you all of the things that are required for you to have a normal work-life balance.
Gotcha.
But they're paying a really nice salary, but you have a job that is a little bit more aligned with what you want for the outside part of your life, but it doesn't pay as much. Are you willing to sacrifice your home value for the dollar sign, or are you willing to maybe not make as much so that the rest of your life has a bit of harmony or balance? So that's where it's your personal integrity. Don't just chase the bag. You want to make sure that you're living a life so you can spend that money as well.
What was that? The Dave Chappelle's. He talked about his dad telling him that when he went to Hollywood, he's like, know what your price is.
Yeah.
And when it gets up to that point and it gets too expensive, get out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In response to like, don't sell yourself, don't sell your soul to Hollywood and all that stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, know where your exit is. Like, hey, I'm good, I'm done.
For sure,
definitely. To encapsulate, I think to just put all of this in just one sentence would be: stand for something or you'll die for nothing. It's one of the most powerful quotes I think I've heard, because self-respect as a man is the foundation. If you don't respect yourself enough to stand up for what you believe in, and you let people just walk all over that, nobody's going to respect you.
Right.
You don't expect to get respect from the rest of the world if you don't show that the world you deserve respect. A lot of people, especially nowadays, they think that you should respect them just because. Is like, I respect those who respect me.
Right.
That's, rule number one is in some of the creed of, the martial arts I've trained in, is like, we respect those who respect us. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you.
Right.
That's just how it is. But I have to respect me first. That comes first, because if I don't respect me, then I'm going to allow you to just get away with whatever.
Right.
You can say whatever to me. You can do whatever you want to me. If I don't respect myself enough to be like, hey, bro, if you say something to me right now that is above that line for me, I'm gonna call you on it.
Right.
Like, hey, bro, don't say that shit to me again.
Right.
As don't call me. It's like, for example, and this is one of those things that could be one of those things is like, I don't do the word nigga. I don't do it. It's like, I've had plenty of people say that to me. I'm like, hey, bro, don't call me that. It's like, don't say that to me. I'm not that. It's like, I'm not getting upset with you because you don't know. But from this point on, don't call me that, because I don't roll like that.
Right.
That's not what I'm about. I'm not gonna call you that. I don't roll in that circle. Don't call me that. And there's almost a certain respect that people have when you call them. It's like, oh shit, he could have just let me keep calling him that.
Right.
Because plenty of people probably do. Have people say certain stuff to him or do certain things to him, even in relationships, that they don't feel good about until it gets to the point where they finally just pop. When you should have addressed that at the beginning.
Right.
You knew that was the line that they were crossing in the beginning when they did that thing. Why didn't you address it then?
Right.
Because you're not standing on your square right now. It's like, and because you didn't stand on your square, you're willing to just take whatever the fuck the world has to offer to you. So if you don't stand for something, you'll die for anything.
That's actually so that's a really good example, because that is something that in the Black community, it's pretty much like assumed that you either use the word or you are like using it amongst your people and all that kind of stuff. And it's a touchy subject with some people, because it's not harmless. The word itself, of course, is not harmless.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you try to flip it to mean something positive for you,
most people don't even know what the word means.
As soon as somebody who doesn't look like you says it, now it's a problem. So then it means it was a problem all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that goes way deeper into something.
But that's also
else,
a piece of. I think that's also a piece of not standing on the square. How can that be fine for one person to say to you, but not fine for another person to say to you?
Right.
That doesn't make much sense. It's like, for me, that's a perfect example of this. Is like not standing for that respect, not standing for that self-respect.
Right.
Because if you call me this and you're different just because of this color of your skin, but I call myself this, what am I really doing? It's like, how can you? That's like, if you feed me poison, I die. But if I feed me poison, I'm fine.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Exactly.
That makes absolutely no sense. You know, so for me, that's another part of not
example.
that's another piece of not standing on the square. Is like, so in your hands, this dagger is deadly, but if I cut myself, I'm fine.
Right.
That makes you know, like I said, you're not. I don't think you're standing on your square when it comes to that. So if you're gonna call yourself something, be okay with the rest of your world calling you it, or don't say shit about it. Is like, because if for me, it's like, and that's the other thing, is like, some of us will say worse, and this goes into more like self-respect, but we'll say worse things to ourselves that we will not allow somebody else to say. I've done it in the past. I've said stuff to myself in the past that if you said out your mouth, me and you, we fighting. Like, but yet I've said it to myself. That goes into the self-respect thing too. Is like, because the way I talk to me and the way I treat me is gonna dictate how you treat me,
right,
as well.
Right.
The way I treat me and the way I go by myself, whether it be the way I talk to myself, the things I eat, the things I listen to, the things I watch, the things I read, whatever, the places I go and find myself. I'm trying to be this, pretending to be this respectable man, but yet on the weekends I'm in the red light district. It's like, how respectable am I?
Right.
I'm not living up to my full potential. I'm not. Am I really respecting myself? No.
So we always talk about action items, and what's coming to mind is the perfect action item that I've been doing for myself, I would say, over the past almost year. So we talk about self-respect. We talked about self-love. We talked about self-control. One of the audiobooks that I started listening to early on, within the last year, was the 48 Laws of Power. You want to talk about having somebody, how you control your own narrative, how you get to know how people are trying to control you and take you off of your square. This might be like one of those red pill cliches or whatever, but you need to read the 48 Laws of Power.
That book scares people.
That book scares people.
That book scares me. I love that fucking book.
I love it too.
But it scares the shit out of people when they read it. Sometimes some people are like, whoa,
man,
I get halfway through and they're like, ah.
Yeah, I used to take a drive in the morning, first thing in the morning. I would take a drive, go get breakfast or something, and then I would listen to 48 Laws of Power, one law a day. I would do one chapter, one law a day. The one that stuck out to me the most and the hardest was Law 34, which is basically, if you want to be treated like a king, you need to act like a king. And it's not necessarily all of this royalty and glitz and glamour that people think it is. It's not an ego thing. It's a self-control thing. It's a self-mastery thing. Self-worth thing. So this is there was a quote that I can't remember who gave it, but it was like self-reverence, self-knowledge, self-control. These things alone is the path to self-mastery, or the path to mastery. And I took that and I added two more to it because I was going through my own thing. This is around the time that we were doing one of our partner drills. When it comes to, I'm gonna break down each one of these because it's 5 tenets. It's 5 tenets of self-mastery. Self-reverence. Self-reverence means self-praise. I am enough. I am worthy. I have respect for myself. You are you big up yourself because you understand that you have self-knowledge. That's the next part of it. The self-reverence is more like self-respect. That's the best way I think about it. You respect yourself because you have self-knowledge. I know what my best qualities are. I know what my worst qualities are. I know what makes me tick. I know what triggers I have, what pain points I have. We talked about this in earlier tenets in the Dokkodo, especially not one that comes to mind is not depending on a partial feeling. So you have all this knowledge of self. You kind of know what makes you tick. So now what do you do with that? Well, you have knowledge of self. So now you have self-control. You know what it's going to take for somebody else to take you off of your square. You now know what it takes for you to get excited and pumped about something, to go out there and make changes the way you want to, and how to maneuver away from the vices that may be causing you to drift. That you're not able to focus on certain things because you have self-doubt and worries and anxiety and depression and all this stuff. But now you know what those things actually are. You've kind of done the work for that. So that's self-control. And then the next one is self-love. Because you know how to praise yourself, you know how to you know who you are at that point. You know what makes you tick. You have done enough work to prove that you love yourself. And you love yourself by going through and saying, I am enough. I have everything that I need. I have all the resources at my disposal. You basically are setting those boundaries and say, I'm not going to let you call me the N-word. I'm not going to let you do these things because I love myself. I respect myself too much to let you harm me in any shape, form, or fashion.
You set a standard for yourself.
You set a standard for yourself. All of these 4 things lead to self-mastery. Mm-hmm. Self-mastery is that last bit, because now you know yourself, you praise yourself, you love yourself, and you have discipline enough to know whatever goal I'm trying to go towards or whatever I'm trying to achieve, I now know all these things and it's all about me. I have all this for me, not for anybody else. Yeah, I have a family. Yeah, I have kids and all this other stuff, if that's what your situation is. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, I love myself because I am in control of myself and I praise myself. That helps me change my mindset to get out of those spots where I was like, I'm not good enough. And I've never claimed depression. I have a lot of friends that are depressed and kind of still in that, like, but by that keeps me out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like by doing all this and by having that kind of repetition, because what I just said to y'all, that's what I'm saying in my head every time I see those 5 things. That's exactly how it's listed for me. So that helps keep me out of the dark spot, because again, that is about that self-control, and I love myself too much to get back into that kind of thing.
That might have to go into some kind of workbook or course.
For sure. So yeah, the last one, and this is again a really good cap to everything that we've discussed so far with the Dokkodo, is the power of staying true to the way. So the quote, "Never stray from the way," underscores the importance of consistency and unwavering commitment in one's life journey. Whether it pertains to the personal code of ethics, a career path, or a set of principles, staying true to the way can lead to long-term success and fulfillment. It encourages individuals to resist distractions, temptations, and that might divert them from their chosen path. So literally everything I just said, I just explained what is the way to me. Yeah. And honestly, the only thing I would add on to that is that it's like when you say, how do I get started on something? Well, that's cool for you. That's cool that you feel like you walk around with a crown and you got no ego. But how does that work for me? How does that work for the common man? Yeah. Well, like I said, that 34th law is think like a kid, or if you want to be treated like one, act like one. Well, the first thing you have to do is think like one. That is how I think. That my actions are, I'm trying to put those things out into the world, and therefore I get the results of, you now are forced to treat me with the respect that I feel like I deserve, not in an egotistical way. I'm not saying that you should be parking my car and wipe my ass for me. I'm just saying that I have too much self-respect to let you treat me any type of way. Yeah. So start there. Start with, how do I want to be treated? And treat yourself that way.
Yeah. I mean, to take a piece of from the circle that we had, the call we had on Sunday, which I love telling people to do, is take yourself out of the equation altogether. How would you tell somebody else to develop self-respect? Right. Because there's simple ways to do it. Is like, because there's certain things that you wouldn't do if you respected yourself, that we all know. Is like, you wouldn't walk around funky. Right. So, you would probably bathe on a regular basis. You would probably be brushing your teeth on a regular basis. You probably wouldn't be wearing funky clothes. Right. It's like, there's certain things that you would do if you're starting from zero. If somebody came to you and started from zero, what would you tell them to do for base? It's like, take a look at these things. It's like, okay, well, make sure, first of all, make sure you're clean. People are going to look at you funny if you walk around smelling a certain kind of way. Right. Try and make yourself presentable. Like what you see in the mirror. If you go days without looking in the mirror, something's probably wrong with that. It's like, if you can walk by a mirror and you find that you're not looking at yourself, you probably don't like what you see in there. So you should probably change that.
That's a wow. I've never experienced that, but I bet that's a wow feeling.
People have.
You can't look at yourself in the mirror. People have done horrendous shit and can still look at themselves in the mirror. But you know what? That's a self-worth thing, ultimately. It is. So, like, you have to not love yourself enough, or whatever it is, enough to to feel that way, because like serial killers will look, they'd be just brushing their teeth in the mirror singing a song, you know what I'm saying? Like but
serial killers probably have that self-worth. They probably see themselves a
they
certain
don't
kind of
respect
way.
anybody but themselves.
So if somebody like that can see themselves a certain kind of way,
you'll be fine.
What's keeping you from seeing yourself a certain kind of way?
That's a good point.
You know, if people can go out in this world and do some of the most horrific, if somebody can go out in this world and literally rob old ladies and still look at themselves in the mirror like they got no problem, still walk down the street,
you'll be fine.
Still walk down the street like they didn't do anything wrong and they just stole some old lady's purse. What the hell are you holding your head down for?
Exactly. The acne will clear up. Your voice will deepen. It's fine. Like you're not a monster. Like you'll be fine.
But yeah, taking that first step and actually, breaking it down to what you would tell somebody else, and then you take that action and start doing it.
Yeah.
The basics. Start with the basics. It's like, okay, am I taking a shower on a regular basis and clean myself? Do I smell? It's like, okay, I smell. I should probably go do something about that. Are my teeth clean? I should probably go do something about that. Yeah, your teeth could be funky and all jagged. Could look like you've been chewing on firecrackers. Your teeth could be all here, but are they clean though?
Right.
It's like, so start with the basics.
Yeah.
Start with that. What you would tell somebody else to do. Make a list of that, of just certain basic things, and go do those things. Make sure you're checking off that list. The same thing you would tell somebody else. Make sure you're checking off that same list.
Right.
So one thing I did say with this one, and here's the thing, you will drift. You will drift off the path. Whatever path that may be for you, and whatever you're trying to do, once you figure out what path you want to be on and what you want to, it's just basically figuring out your life. That's really all the path is. It's figuring out what path you want to be on in your life. Just once again, what are you standing for? What are you here to do? That's the path we're talking about.
Right.
To give a little more substance to it. And you're gonna drift. Even if once you figure out what you want to do and you're definite in that and you're on it and you got blinders on, you're gonna drift off course at some point. Life is going to take you in different directions. The key is to come back to it. Once you figure out that you're drifting, don't just keep drifting.
Right.
It's kind of like the best example I usually give people is autopilot on a plane. One of the best examples I've ever heard. Autopilot on a plane doesn't keep the plane straight.
Right.
People misunderstand this. It doesn't keep the plane straight the whole flight. Autopilot is designed to, when you're off course, to bring you back onto course. That's the whole point of autopilot in a plane. It's not just be like, oh, we're just going to stay this section the whole time. No, because the wind's going to drift you off to the right. And for a plane, just for a person, 5 degrees off this way, you can go. You were heading for New York, and now you're in Florida.
Right.
Just by just a 5-degree change.
Right.
Same thing when we're drifting through life. Is like if you're drifting through life, let's say you want to be a lawyer or a doctor. Your path is this, and you start to drift off. Maybe you start to drift. Okay, well, I'm gonna study a little bit less and do maybe just a little more partying and start having a good time because everybody's telling me I'm too uptight.
Right.
Everybody's telling me I'm too uptight and just have some fun, let loose, and you start drifting off that, and then you go from partying once every 2 weeks to now you're partying once every week. Now you're partying once every couple of days. Now you haven't been showing up to class the last week.
It's a slippery slope.
Next thing you know, you're fucking working at a nightclub instead of being a lawyer. Now you're like, well, now I'm booking shows and I'm doing all these things at the club where I'm doing these things. And next thing you know, you're not on the path that you said you wanted to be on. You've drifted so far away just by starting to take that little bit of drift. But once you start recognizing that, and like I said, you're gonna happen. Bring yourself back, just like that autopilot, because you're not always gonna be on path.
Right.
People think it's gonna be like this. A lot of times it's gonna be like this.
And tell you what, honestly, that's a part of the path. There is no A to B regiment for a lot of things in life, especially when
A, B, 3, 4, red,
Exactly.
blue, pink.
You know what I'm saying?
D.
And then you hope you get back to a letter that makes sense to you. But there's always detours and distractions that are going to be around that are trying to take you off course. And honestly, it's just negative energy. But at the same time, those are needed so that you can see, okay, this is a perfect example because we always talk about action items. I've been lately, over the past couple of months, I've been doing like 30, 40-day challenges.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I will make tally marks. Like I have a whiteboard like this at home. I'll make tally marks every time that I do something right that's on the path. Let's call it that way. Every time I do something wrong, what I used to do, I'm gonna give you the way I used to do it and the way I do it now. What I used to do is that anytime I missed a day, I erased everything. I would go from like, oh, I did really good for 7 days, but I messed up for one day, so now the 7 days is gone. It's wiped out. I would try to see how far out I could get, and when I would get to like one time, I was so pissed with myself. I got to day 39 and was like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I started over, and I was like, I was one day away. You know what I'm saying? Not even a full day, but it was like 12 hours. And I was just like, bro, what the fuck? So I started over. I got to 45 the next time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, cool. And then, again, I did something wrong and I wiped it out. What we don't realize, the reason why we shouldn't wipe out our one negative thing doesn't get rid of all the positive that you did. Mm-hmm. A positive action is actually more powerful than a negative action. Yeah. But our guilt senses...
Just like a thought?
Yeah, our guilt senses doesn't let us do that. We focus more on negative. So what I missed along the way of going from 7 to 15 to 39 to 45 was that I was building a muscle at that point. Mm-hmm. I was able to build the capacity to go 45 days or whatever, however long it was, before I said, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. Mm-hmm. That drifting gave me the chance to check my progress. And honestly, what I do now is I don't even count the losses. It's not about that anymore. Now it's just how far can I go with getting as many tallies on here as possible. If I mess up, that's fine. But I need to count the good out of that situation and not just the bad, and it doesn't erase all that progress. Mm-hmm. I have way more wins than I have losses. But the losses are the things that kind of drive us sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. It's this has been key. These, like I said, these tenets are, guys, they're from the 16th century. It's like if you just
ain't nothing new under the sun.
It's like if you just take that into mind. These are literally from the 16th century. We're in 2023, mm-hmm. and they're still relevant right now. What does that tell you?
Yeah, that there have been people who have lived and died and have gained more wisdom than we will ever have. Mm. However, and there's no new problems. There's nothing new under the sun. What you are going through, even if we haven't gone through it, somebody has.
Multiple millions of people probably gone through the shit
you are not
that
special.
You say you're going through right now. And that's the thing. We and our problems are not as special as we think they are.
At all. It's crazy. But you know what? My wife says that sometimes is because like she's real into the world shit, lay baby. But it drives me up a wall sometimes. But it's like she's also, anytime she sees space, she's just like, we're all gonna die because like we don't know what's out there. But at the same time, it's just like none of this matters. None of this shit matters. My bills don't matter. My worries don't matter. How I feel about being in a Zoom meeting at work doesn't matter. Giving a presentation doesn't matter. My stupid ass job doesn't matter. None of this shit matters because ultimately there is no new problem that you face. It may be new to you, but it's not new to history. Mm-hmm. So if somebody has faced that problem, that means there's most likely a solution. All we have to do is either go within ourselves, and if we can't find it within ourselves, find somebody who has gone through that and use their experience, because then we cut down the suffering in half the time.
Yeah, what's that they say? History doesn't repeat, but it does. Death sure as hell rhymes.
Yeah,
and follow that path, man, because people will put footsteps, and that's part of what we're doing with this channel is setting down those footsteps on our path. Mm-hmm. Our path may not be your path. My path isn't necessarily Edmund's path. His path isn't necessarily mine. We're on this path with Warriors Way together.
Right.
Our paths intersect in this path. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we have different directions that we're going in.
Right.
And that's okay. But if you can find somebody who's did something that you wanted to do or something similar that you could do, you can walk in those footsteps. Just like I talked about before. If you have deep snow, you have 4 feet of snow. We live in Colorado.
Yeah.
If you have 4 feet of snow and somebody else walked in front, mm-hmm. you can step in their footprints.
It makes your walk
to where
easier.
It makes your walk a lot easier. Right. It's like, so that's one of the biggest things, man. So
for sure.
Yeah, man.
So this has been the Dokkodo, y'all. We are done. 21st principle everything is wrapped up. So, what
And
is
it
our?
sounds so excited about that for some reason.
Well, but you know why? Because this is our first book. This is the first book that we've done together.
It's completion.
Yeah,
We've come
full
circle.
As one journey ends, another one begins. So now we can kind of get into some other things that we've talked about. We've talked about bringing people on as far as like interviews and stuff. So we'll be on the lookout for that. This just gives us more space. It's
Self-defense techniques.
We just film some self-defense techniques and definitely be on the lookout for that because our crazy ass, we're gonna come up with some shit.
That won't necessarily be on the podcast. That'll be on the YouTube channel. So if you listen to the podcast, you'll definitely have to check out the YouTube channel for those.
Good job.
Because it's a little hard to talk how to kick somebody in the knee and punch somebody in the throat. That's a little harder to describe.
Yeah, right.
You know, I can't exactly. I'm not that adept at painting word pictures to that extent. You know,
right.
It's like
if he starts to look like a fountain of blood because you hit him the right way, that means
a good job.
You're doing it right. You know what I'm saying? We'll teach you the 5-point palm exploding heart technique and all that. Like, nah, please don't listen to me.
Dragon Claw.
But yes, so be on the lookout for those type of tutorials, interviews, and more book reviews. You can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all streaming platforms as far as podcasts are concerned.
Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music.
Are we on Amazon Music now?
Yeah, we're on Amazon. We're on Amazon. I believe it's Amazon Music. Yeah,
good stuff.
Should be Amazon.
I didn't
Music.
know that. All right, good stuff.
Be making moves behind the scenes.
Right.
Behind the scenes.
So again, we just wanted to bring all of these principles to you guys. Again, if you haven't checked out the previous series, please do that. It will help all this make a lot more sense to you. Because honestly, it is better to be a warrior in a garden.
A garden in a war.
We'll check you guys out next time.
Take it easy.